During holiday dinner, my 5-year-old announced, "My teacher says the bruises mean I'm learning." The fork slipped from my hand and clattered against the china plate. Everyone at the table froze. My mother mid-pour with the gravy boat, my father with his wine glass halfway to his lips, my sister Rachel staring at my daughter Emma with her mouth open. "What bruises, sweetheart?" I managed to ask, though my throat felt like sandpaper. Emma swung her legs under the table, completely oblivious to the bomb she'd just dropped. "Mr. Harrison says when we get bruises from trying hard, it means we're learning to be tough. Like when Jason fell off the climbing wall and got that big purple one on his knee." She took another bite of mashed potatoes, while my husband David's knuckles went white around his fork. "Emma, honey," David said carefully, "has Mr. Harrison ever given you bruises?" She shook her head, mouth full of food. "No, but he helps us practice falling the right way. And sometimes when we don't listen, he shows us pressure points so we know what hurts." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. My mother set down the gravy boat with shaking hands. "Emma, what do you mean by pressure points?" Emma brightened like this was her favorite topic. "He pushes here," she pointed to her shoulder, "and here," her wrist, "to show us where it hurts most. He says it's important to know for self-defense, but we're not supposed to tell other grown-ups because they wouldn't understand advanced learning." David was already pulling out his phone, but I grabbed his wrist under the table. "Not in front of Emma. Not yet. We needed information first." "That sounds interesting, baby. What else does Mr. Harrison teach you that's special?" I kept my voice light, casual, while my stomach churned. "Oh, lots of things. We do trust exercises where we have to close our eyes and let him move our arms and legs to see if we trust him. And if someone cries, they have to sit in the quiet corner until they're tough enough to come back." She paused, thinking. "Oh, and we play the secret game where we whisper secrets to him, and he tells us if they're good or bad secrets." Rachel excused herself from the table, and I heard the bathroom door close, then the sound of her on the phone. Good. She was calling someone. My father's face had gone from confused to furious, the vein in his temple that only appeared when he was truly angry starting to throb. "Emma, sweetheart," my mother said gently, "would you like to go play with your new toys in the living room while the grown-ups clean up?" Emma nodded enthusiastically and skipped off, completely unaware of the crisis she'd just unveiled. The moment she was out of earshot, David slammed his fist on the table. "I'm going to kill him," he said flatly. "This Harrison guy. I'm going to physically—" "Stop," I said, though I felt the same rage. "We need to be smart about this. Rachel, who did you call?" Rachel came back from the bathroom, phone still in hand. "My friend Marcus. He's a detective with the Child Crimes Unit. He says to document everything Emma tells us, but not to ask leading questions. He's on his way over." "On Christmas?" my father asked. "He said this can't wait. If a teacher is putting hands on kids and telling them to keep secrets, every hour matters." Rachel's face was pale. "He also said not to contact the school or the teacher yet. They need to investigate properly." David was scrolling through his phone. "Harrison, James Harrison. He started at Riverside Elementary this year. Transferred from— That's weird. His previous school isn't listed." He turned the screen toward me. The school website showed Harrison's smiling face, mid-30s, friendly looking, the kind of teacher parents would trust. My mother returned from checking on Emma. "She's playing with her dollhouse." I closed the door. She sat down heavily. "How did we miss this?" "She's been in his class for 4 months." "Because he told them not to tell," I said bitterly. "Advanced learning that adults wouldn't understand. God knows what else he's been doing." The doorbell rang 40 minutes later. Marcus stood on our porch in jeans and a sweater, clearly having left his own holiday dinner. He was a tall black man with kind eyes that turned serious as Rachel led him to our dining room. "I need to talk to Emma," he said gently. "But first I need you to tell me exactly what she said. Word for word if you can remember." We recounted everything while he took notes in a small notebook. His face grew progressively grimmer. When we finished, he said, "This has all the hallmarks of grooming behavior. The secrecy, the physical contact disguised as education, the isolation of children who show emotional responses. Has Emma shown any behavioral changes?" I thought back. "She's been more aggressive with her brother, and she stopped wanting bedtime hugs about a month ago. Said she was too tough for baby stuff. I thought it was just a phase." "There have been complaints," David said suddenly, looking up from his phone. "I'm in the parent Facebook group. 3 weeks ago, Melissa Chen posted that her son came home with fingerprint bruises on his arms. Harrison said the boy had fallen during recess. Kevin Wu's daughter wet herself in class, and Harrison made her sit in it for an hour as a natural consequence." My mother read from her own phone. "His wife posted about it but deleted it after the principal said they were handling it internally." Marcus made more notes. "I need to interview Emma now. Just me and one parent. Too many adults might overwhelm her." I volunteered, and we went to the living room where Emma was making her dolls have their own Christmas dinner. "Hi, Emma," Marcus said, sitting on the floor at her eye level. "I'm Mr. Marcus. I help kids stay safe. Your mom says you have a teacher who's been teaching you special things?" Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Mr. Harrison. He's the best. He says I'm one of his strongest students." "That's great. Can you tell me about the exercises you do?" Over the next 30 minutes, Emma described a systematic pattern of escalating physical contact, punishment disguised as character building, and careful manipulation to ensure silence. She showed Marcus on her doll where Harrison would press to demonstrate pressure points. She explained how he would have private meetings with students who were ready for advanced training. "Have you had advanced training?" Marcus asked carefully. Emma shook her head. "Not yet. He says after winter break I might be ready. Only the really tough kids get picked." Marcus exchanged a look with me that made my blood run cold. We were potentially weeks away from something worse. After Marcus finished with Emma, sending her to play upstairs, he addressed all of us. "I'm calling my captain now. We'll have a team at Harrison's residence within the hour. We need to check if there's evidence of other victims, any recordings, anything that suggests this goes beyond what Emma described. What about the other kids in the class? Rachel asked. We'll be conducting interviews with all of them starting tomorrow. The school will be notified tonight, but we're asking them not to alert Harrison. We need him to think everything's normal. David stood up abruptly. I'm going over there. No, you're not, Marcus said firmly. You go anywhere near him. You compromise this investigation, and he could walk. Let us handle this. I promise you, if he's done what Emma described, he's not walking away from this. The rest of Christmas night passed in a blur. Marcus left to coordinate the investigation. We tried to maintain normalcy for Emma and her younger brother Jack, but after they went to bed, we sat around the kitchen table in stunned silence. I should have known, I kept saying. The aggression, the tough talk, the resistance to physical affection, all the signs were there. Stop, David said, taking my hand. He's a predator. They're experts at hiding. The whole class of parents missed it. Rachel pulled up her laptop. I'm searching for James Harrison, teacher. Any previous incidents? She typed furiously. There's nothing. It's like he didn't exist before this year. My phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Marcus. We have him in custody, he said without preamble. We found materials at his residence. I can't give details, but Emma and the other kids were being documented. We also found evidence he's done this before under different names. I sank into a chair, relief and horror washing over me in equal measures. How many kids? We're still determining that. But your daughter speaking up? She potentially saved dozens of children. The advanced training she mentioned? We found plans for what that entailed. You caught this just in time. The next morning, trying to maintain normalcy, I made breakfast while David fielded calls from other parents who'd heard about the arrest through the suburban gossip network. The school had sent out a vague email about an incident involving a staff member, and that counselors would be available. Emma came downstairs in her pajamas, dragging her stuffed elephant. Mommy, why are there so many cars outside Kevin's house? I looked out the window. Several unmarked vehicles were parked along our street. Just some grown-up stuff, baby. Hey, how about pancakes? As she ate, she said casually, Mr. Harrison says tough kids don't need breakfast. They run on strength. Another note for Marcus's file. Rachel arrived around 10 a.m. with her laptop and a grim expression. I found him. His real name is James Hartley. He was investigated in Michigan 3 years ago for inappropriate contact with students, but charges were dropped when families declined to cooperate. He legally changed his name and moved here. How the hell did the school not catch that in a background check? David demanded. Name changes don't always show up, especially if they're done in different states, and Harrison had glowing references, probably forged. My phone buzzed. A text from Melissa Chen. My son just told me about wrestling practice that Mr. H made them keep secret. How did we not know? Then another from Janet Wu. Sophie says Mr. H told her she was weak like her mother. I'm going to be sick. Within an hour, our parent WhatsApp group had exploded with similar stories. The picture that emerged was of a man who had systematically tested boundaries with every child, identifying those he could manipulate further. Marcus called that afternoon. We need Emma to do a formal interview at the Child Advocacy Center tomorrow. It's a child-friendly space with trained interviewers. You can watch from another room. Will she have to testify? Possibly, but we're building such a strong case that he might plea out. We found videos. His voice was tight with controlled anger. He recorded his teaching methods. Your daughter and 12 others are clearly visible. I hung up and vomited in the kitchen sink. The next day at the Advocacy Center, I watched through a one-way mirror as Emma told a gentlewoman named Sarah about Mr. Harrison's class. The details that emerged were worse than what she'd initially shared. The quiet corner was a closet. The pressure point demonstrations left bruises that he told kids were badges of toughness. He had favorite students who got special privileges if they kept the secrets. Was Emma one of his favorites? I asked Marcus, who stood beside me. She was being groomed to be. He was escalating with her. The advanced training he mentioned, based on his videos from previous victims, that's when the serious abuse would have begun. I watched my 5-year-old daughter demonstrate on an anatomically neutral doll where Mr. Harrison would touch students to check their toughness. I watched her explain how he said parents were weak and didn't understand strength training. I watched her innocence being documented for a crime she didn't even understand had been committed against her. David couldn't watch. He paced the hallway, occasionally punching the wall, leaving knuckle marks in the paint that the staff politely ignored. That evening, Principal Foster called. Mrs. Patterson, I want to personally apologize. We failed Emma and all our students. Harrison came with impeccable references. We're launching a full investigation into our hiring practices. Your hiring practices? I laughed bitterly. He was hurting kids for 4 months. Where was the oversight? Where were the classroom observations? How did no one notice kids were being put in closets and coming home with bruises? We're investigating all of that. The district is bringing in external reviewers. I hope you're also bringing in lawyers, I said, and hung up. The parent meeting 2 nights later was chaos. The school gym was packed with furious families. Principal Foster tried to maintain order but was shouted down repeatedly. Marcus had warned us not to share specific details that might compromise the investigation, but the general horror was enough to have parents demanding blood. How many of our kids did he hurt? Shouted Kevin Wu. The investigation is ongoing, Foster replied weakly. My son hasn't slept in 3 days. Melissa Chen stood up. He keeps saying Mr. H will be mad that he told. That teacher convinced our babies that we parents were the enemy. A father I didn't recognize stood up. My daughter asked me if I was weak because I hugged her. That monster made her think affection was weakness. The meeting devolved from there. Parents were screaming about lawsuits, demanding the entire administration resign, calling for criminal charges against anyone who missed the signs. I sat silently, holding David's hand. Emma was in therapy now, twice a week with a specialist in trauma. She'd had night terrors for 3 straight nights, suddenly afraid of the dark, afraid of being alone, afraid that Mr. Harrison would come back and be mad that she'd told secrets. A week later, Marcus called with an update. He's being charged with 34 counts across 7 children. More families are coming forward. He kept detailed notes on each child, rating their vulnerability, their family situations, identifying the ones least likely to tell. Was Emma? She was marked as high potential, because you and David both work full-time. He thought you wouldn't notice changes. He was wrong. The words hit like a punch. Our careers, our busy lives, had made our daughter a target. Rachel took a leave of absence from her job to help us. She picked up Emma from therapy, organized play dates with safe families, researched the best trauma-informed approaches. She became our rock when David and I could barely function. 3 weeks after Christmas, Emma said something that broke me completely. We were baking cookies, a normal activity to try to restore normal life. When she looked up and asked, "Mommy, am I still tough if I'm scared?" I knelt down, flour-covered hands framing her face. "Baby, being scared doesn't make you weak. Being scared and asking for help makes you the bravest girl in the world." Mr. Harrison said asking for help means you're a baby. Mr. Harrison was wrong about everything, every single thing. She considered this. "Then can I sleep in your bed tonight? I'm brave, but I still have scary dreams. Every night until the scary dreams stop, baby. Every single night." The investigation revealed Harrison had 23 victims over 8 years across 3 states. He'd perfected his method: gain trust, normalize inappropriate touching through education, identify vulnerable children, escalate slowly, and above all, convince them that telling was weakness. The trial was set for 6 months out. The prosecutor, a woman named Diana with steel in her spine, told us Emma's testimony might not be needed. The videos are damning. His own recordings will convict him. But Harrison's lawyer was fighting to have the videos thrown out, claiming illegal search and seizure. The legal maneuvering was exhausting. Every hearing brought new anxiety, new fears that he might walk free on a technicality. Emma's therapy sessions revealed more damage than we'd initially understood. She'd internalized messages about strength and weakness that would take years to undo. She refused to cry, even when hurt. She pushed through pain without complaint, thinking it made her tough. She distrusted adults who were too nice, because Harrison had said they were weak. Dr. Kim, her therapist, explained, he essentially reprogrammed her understanding of healthy relationships. We're not just healing trauma, we're rebuilding her entire framework for understanding care and safety. David threw himself into research, becoming an expert on childhood trauma recovery overnight. He read every book, every study, every article. He transformed our home into a therapeutic environment with visual schedules, calm-down corners, and emotional regulation tools. But at night, after Emma was asleep, he'd sit in the dark living room, staring at nothing. "I should have protected her," he'd say. "That's my one job as her father." "We couldn't have known," I'd reply, the same exchange every night. "But we should have. The signs were there." Around and around we went, guilt and anger cycling endlessly. My mother moved in temporarily to help. She took over the household management I couldn't handle anymore. Laundry, groceries, cooking. She fielded the endless calls from concerned friends and relatives. She became the shield between us and the outside world. One afternoon, while Emma was at therapy, she sat me down. "You need help too. This trauma didn't just happen to Emma. I'm fine. You've lost 15 pounds. You don't sleep. You check on Emma every hour through the night. You're not fine." She was right. I started seeing my own therapist, Dr. Patterson. No relation, despite the name. In our first session, I couldn't stop crying. He was planning to do worse things to my baby, the advanced training, if she hadn't said something at dinner. But she did say something. Focus on that. Despite his grooming, despite his manipulation, your daughter trusted you enough to share. That's not luck. That's parenting. The school district offered a settlement rather than face a lawsuit. Their insurance would pay for all therapy, all medical costs, and a sum for pain and suffering. Our lawyer advised taking it. Trials are traumatic. This guarantees Emma's care is covered without putting her through more. We took the money, but it felt like blood money. No amount could undo what had been done. 4 months after Christmas, Harrison's other victims started emerging publicly. A family from Michigan reached out. Their son, now 13, had been Harrison's student when he was Emma's age. The parents wept over video call as they described the years of therapy, the suicide attempts, the destruction of their child's innocence. "We tried to prosecute," the mother said, "but our son couldn't testify. He was too traumatized. Harrison knew that would happen. He counts on it." Their story was eerily similar. The pressure points, the closet, the messages about toughness and weakness. Harrison had been refining his approach for years. The prosecutor added their case to the charges, even though statute of limitations complicated things. Every victim made the case stronger, she said. Every story showed pattern and premeditation. Emma's 6th birthday came in May. She wanted a small party, just family, no school friends. She'd become withdrawn from her classmates, unable to relate to their normal childhood concerns. How could she talk about cartoons when she'd learned about pressure points and keeping secrets? During cake, she asked, "Will Mr. Harrison be at school next year?" "No, baby, never again." "What if he comes back? What if he's mad?" I told. These fears surfaced regularly. The monster under her bed had a real face, a real name. No amount of reassurance could completely ease the anxiety. The trial began in July. We weren't there, Emma didn't need to testify after all. Harrison had pled guilty to avoid the maximum sentence. 25 years with possibility of parole in 15. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But at least he admitted it. The families wouldn't have to see him deny their children's truth. At the sentencing, parents were allowed to give impact statements. David and I went together, leaving Emma with Rachel. The courtroom was packed with families, all of us bound by the violation of our trust, our children's innocence. David spoke first, his voice steady, despite the tears. You called yourself a teacher, but you taught nothing but fear and shame. You took a brilliant, loving, trusting 5-year-old and made her afraid of affection. You made her distrust the adults who love her. You stole her childhood. We will spend years, possibly decades, undoing the damage you did in 4 months. I spoke next, looking directly at Harrison in his orange jumpsuit. He seemed smaller than I remembered. Ordinary. You marked my daughter as high potential because you thought we were too busy to notice. You were wrong. Parents always notice. We just sometimes need our children to give us the words. Emma gave us words. And now you'll spend decades in prison because a 5-year-old was braver than you ever were. Other parents spoke. Melissa Chen described her son's nightmares. Janet Wu talked about her daughter's anxiety attacks. Kevin Wu broke down completely, unable to finish. Harrison showed no emotion until the judge spoke. 25 years. Registry for life. No contact with minors ever again. Then he crumbled, sobbing about his own trauma, his own pain. The judge cut him off. Your trauma doesn't excuse traumatizing children. Your pain doesn't justify inflicting pain. You had choices. You chose wrong. We left the courthouse to news cameras and reporters. We said nothing. There was nothing to say that hadn't been said. Emma started first grade that fall at a different school. We'd moved, unable to drive past Riverside Elementary without remembering. The new school knew her history. Her teacher, Mrs. Garcia, was informed about triggers and signs to watch for. The first day, Emma clung to me at drop-off. What if the teacher is like Mr. Harrison? Then you tell me immediately. No secrets. Ever. Even if they say it's a good secret? Especially then. She nodded solemnly and walked into her new classroom. Progress came slowly. Emma learned to accept hugs again. She stopped categorizing everything as weak or tough. She cried when she scraped her knee and let us comfort her. Each normal childhood response felt like a victory. Dr. Kim warned us about anniversaries. Trauma has a calendar. Expect regression around significant dates. She was right. As Christmas approached, Emma's nightmares returned. She became hyper-vigilant at school. She asked repeatedly if Mr. Harrison could escape from jail. We decided to skip the big family dinner, having a quiet Christmas at home instead. No pressure, no performances, just peace. But on Christmas Eve, Emma surprised us. Can we have everyone over tomorrow? I want to see Grandma and Grandpa and Aunt Rachel. Are you sure? Yes. Mr. Harrison made me scared of normal things. Dr. Kim says I need to make new memories to cover the scary ones. So we hosted Christmas dinner. Smaller than usual, gentler. When Emma helped set the table, she said, "Remember last year when I told everyone about the bruises? I remember. That was really brave, wasn't it? The bravest thing I've ever seen. I didn't know it was brave then. I just thought it was interesting. Sometimes the best brave things are accidents." She considered this. Then I'm accidentally brave. The best kind of brave there is. A year later, we got a call from Marcus. Another family had come forward from Harrison's time in Ohio. They wanted to connect with other families, to build a support network. We agreed to a video call. Their daughter, now 16, spoke to us with a strength that gave me hope. It gets better, she told us. I still have bad days, but mostly I have good ones. He doesn't get to own my whole story. Emma wasn't on the call, but later I told her about the girl who had survived and thrived. She's tough, Emma said. The real kind, not the Mr. Harrison kind. What's the real kind? The kind that asks for help when they need it. 2 years post-disclosure, Emma was thriving, not unmarked by her experience, but not defined by it either. She'd joined the art club, made friends, discovered a love of soccer, normal kid things that felt miraculous. During a parent-teacher conference, Mrs. Thompson mentioned Emma's leadership skills. She stands up for other kids. If someone's being bullied or excluded, Emma intervenes. She has a strong sense of justice. David and I exchanged glances. Our daughter's trauma had forged an advocate. At home, Emma explained, some kids don't know how to say when someone's being mean. I know how to say it now. The lawsuit against the school district settled for enough to cover therapy through college. The district implemented new policies, monthly classroom observations, extensive background checks, mandatory reporter training for all staff. They called them the Emma Protocols, though we'd asked them not to. Principal Foster resigned. The new principal, Dr. Washington, had a background in child psychology. She met with us regularly, checking on Emma's progress, asking how to better support survivors. Your daughter changed everything, she said. Her bravery exposed systematic failures we're still fixing. She shouldn't have had to be brave, I replied. No, but thank God she was. 3 years later, we got news that Harrison had died in prison. An altercation with another inmate who'd learned about his crimes. I felt nothing. Not relief, not satisfaction, just emptiness. His death didn't undo anything. Emma, now 8, asked if we were safe now that he was gone. We were safe when he went to prison. Now he's just gone. Good, she said simply, and went back to her homework. Dr. Kim had prepared us for this possibility. Children process justice differently than adults. Don't be surprised if she has unexpected reactions. Emma's reaction was to ask if other kids were still in danger from other bad teachers. When we said possibly, she announced she wanted to be a police officer who catches bad adults. Or maybe a therapist like Dr. Kim, she added. Someone who helps kids feel better after bad things happen. The anniversary reactions lessened over time. By year 4, Christmas was just Christmas again. Emma still had triggers, unexpected touches, dark closets, certain tones of voice, but she'd developed coping strategies. During 5th grade, her school did a safety unit about appropriate touch and secrets. Emma came home and said, "They're teaching what Mr. Harrison did was wrong. All the kids are learning it." How does that make you feel? Like I helped. Like what happened to me is protecting other kids. I held her while she cried. Healthy tears, healing tears. Not the tough girl suppression Harrison had taught, but real emotional release. David and I had found our way back to each other through couples therapy. The trauma had nearly broken our marriage. Blame, guilt, different coping mechanisms pulling us apart. But we'd fought for our family the way we'd fought for Emma. Rachel had become an advocate, working with the district to improve child protection policies. She'd turned her helpless rage into productive action, becoming the expert none of us had wanted to be. The other families from Emma's class had varying outcomes. Some thrived, some struggled. We formed a support group that met monthly, sharing resources and understanding. We called ourselves the Christmas Parents, bound by that horrible holiday discovery. Marcus stayed in touch, occasionally calling with questions about new cases. Emma's case changed how we investigate, he told us. Her clarity, despite the grooming, gave us a template for understanding how predators work. It was cold comfort, but comfort nonetheless. At Emma's middle school graduation, she gave a speech as class president. She talked about resilience, about choosing courage over comfort, about the strength in vulnerability. She didn't mention Harrison, but every parent from her elementary school knew. Bad things happen, she said to her peers, but we get to choose what happens next. We get to choose who we become because of them, not in spite of them. David gripped my hand as our daughter stood tall at that podium, transformed from victim to survivor to thriver. The principal approached us afterward. "She's remarkable. You've raised a remarkable young woman." "She raised herself," I said. "We just didn't let anyone break her while she did." High school brought new challenges. Dating, parties, peer pressure, all filtered through Emma's unique perspective on trust and safety. She was cautious, but not paralyzed. Protected, but not imprisoned by her experience. She dated a boy named Connor who understood boundaries because Emma insisted on them. She educated her friends about consent and coercion. She became the safe person others came to with their secrets. One night, a friend called Emma crying. A teacher had been making inappropriate comments, standing too close, finding excuses to touch. Emma came to us immediately. "We have to report it," she said. "I know what grooming looks like." We did. The teacher was investigated, removed, charged. Emma testified about recognizing the patterns, her past making her an expert witness. "I hate that I know these things," she told Dr. Kim in what would be their last regular session, "but I'm glad I can use that knowledge to protect others." College applications asked for essays about overcoming challenges. Emma wrote about Christmas dinner, about bruises and learning, about a 5-year-old's accidental bravery changing everything. "Too much?" she asked, showing us the draft. "Perfect," David said. "Absolutely perfect." She got into her first choice, planning to study criminal justice and psychology. A survivor's resume, building a protector's future. The night before she left for college, Emma sat between us on the couch, looking through photo albums. There were no pictures from that Christmas. We'd deleted them all, unable to bear the before and after they represented. But there were hundreds from after. Emma healing, growing, thriving, our family rebuilding, new traditions replacing tainted ones. "Thank you," Emma said suddenly, "for believing me, for fighting for me, for not letting him win." "Thank you," I replied, "for being brave enough to tell us about the bruises that meant you were learning." I wasn't being brave, I was just talking. The best bravery usually is. She left for college the next morning, our damaged, healed, powerful daughter heading into a world she'd helped make safer. Harrison had tried to teach her that bruises meant learning, that pain meant growth, that secrets meant strength. Instead, she'd learned that bruises meant danger, that pain meant something was wrong, that secrets meant someone needed to be stopped, and she'd learned it in time to save herself and dozens of others. The Christmas ornament Emma had made in Harrison's class still sat in a box in our basement, a paper snowflake with "I am tough" written in glitter glue. We'd never thrown it away, but never hung it either. Years later, when Emma had her own daughter, she found it while helping us declutter. She held it up to the light, this artifact of trauma, and said, "I was tough, just not the way he meant." She threw it in the trash without ceremony. The past acknowledged, but not preserved. That evening, as we watched Emma's daughter play, she said, "I'll never let anyone hurt her the way he hurt me. But more importantly, I'll teach her to tell me if someone tries." And that was Harrison's only lasting legacy. A generation of parents who knew what questions to ask, what signs to watch for, what secrets to fear. At every holiday dinner since, when children chatter about school and teachers and friends, the adults listen differently. We hear the spaces between words, the things not said, the secrets that might be hiding. Because one Christmas, a 5-year-old accidentally saved herself and others by mentioning bruises that meant learning. And we learned that the most dangerous predators are the ones who teach our children not to tell. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Show some love with a like and subscribe for more content like this.